Peace, everybody. Welcome to the More You Know, the place where we're trying to teach you more. And this is my co-host.
My name is Sean Dale, the L. Peace, Islam, Shalom.
And I'm Bree Hux. And we will be talking this evening about just history and things that we need to know, starting with the,
We could go with the Moors of Spain
okay,
from, let's say, 711 AD to 1492.
so when you say the Moors in Spain, is that like the Muslim people? Like, are we talking about Arabs? Are we talking about men that look like you and me? What do we say?
Yes, the origins of the Arab population is a mixture, an admixture between the Asians, the Hindus, and the Africans.
But the Hindu people, those are the people. Okay, so let's have a little delineation. So when we talk about Indians, right?
Yes,
The people over there in India,
yes.
those people became Indians in what year?
1956.
So my grandmother's older than that. So I got, you probably got drawers older than, the people over there calling themselves Indians. So like we have a running joke amongst black people or amongst people who call themselves black. Oh, we always say we have Indian in our family.
Right, right.
And
right,
that's
right,
like
right.
a running joke. That's like, oh, ha ha, he. But we are the Indians in the family. Because
Exactly.
those people who we classify as Indians
Right.
became Indians in 1956.
Exactly, legally on record with the United Nations and just those world organizations. For the record, that's when they actually took on and adopted that name.
So that's why when I say I'm Indian, people looking at me like I'm supposed to look like Pocahontas or like
Right.
Angelina Jolie.
Exactly, because the term Indian was created as like a form of identification within the United States of America.
Because those people are wards of the state, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Because underneath the United States corporations and their codes and statutes, they have to be identified. And if they take on that term Indian, it has a certain level of citizenship and privileges available to you underneath that particular
Like them
term.
living on the reservation and being crackheads and like.
Right. Well, those organizations, those federally recognized tribes, they're actually really more like corporations and fraternal organizations.
Okay.
So it's those members that were part of fraternal organizations who got together and made agreements and signed treaties with the United States corporations are those people on those reservations.
Right. So let's backpedal a little bit because remember, I just came from Wilmington. My grandmother passed away. R.I.P. to Carolyn
Sure
Dolores Sanders. Sleep in peace. She's doing well. And before that, remember, I was doing my genealogy and I was trying to, trace back, my family up until 1700s.
Okay.
So I found the White Declaration of Independence, right?
Okay.
So the White Declaration of Independence, it says, maybe I can pull it up on my phone
Yeah, you might.
if you don't have it. But it says that they will never again be ruled by men of Negro origin, which I thought that was strange because I'm like, okay, in 1776 we have the regular Declaration of Independence, right?
Right.
So after that, in 1898, they needed the White Declaration of Independence.
Right.
What does white mean?
It's a social status.
So I'm white, you're white.
Not relating to complexion. Because the Europeans, or I would say the pale Europeans, they didn't take on the status of white until 1897.
So this was 1898
Okay, right, 1898.
that the White Declaration of Independence was written. So
Let me see if I
basically,
can stop
for the audience and people who haven't read this or heard of this, my grandmother is from a place called Wilmington, North Carolina, which was one of the original metropolitan cities in America as a whole, in the Americas. And through my journey of information and what I'm learning also from my good comrade here is that everybody was black or so-called black. Everybody looked like us. From Abraham Lincoln to John Hanson, the first 15, 20 presidents of the United Continental Congress were all Moors. They were all Moorish gentlemen. They were all not all of them had to be dark skinned.
Right.
Because we make all colors. We still make all colors today. You
Exactly.
can't get the recessive you can get the recessive from the dominant, but you can't get the dominant from the recessive. So when you look at the white Declaration of Independence, okay, let me paint the scene. So it was crazy. We were doing so well that the lighter skinned people started to feel bad. Like, it was really the black of the berry, the sweet of the juice. Like, the black of the berry, the sweet of the juice. Like, it was crazy.
Right.
And they wrote this, like, campaign kind of letter against Moorish men. And they were saying, like, oh, protect the white women. And these men, everybody couldn't read at the time, but most people could look at pictures and be able to depict what they saw. So they would make these, like, ads, like, with him, like, screaming, looking like a monster over a little poor white woman.
Propaganda.
So after that, a very upstanding gentleman who owned his own newspaper in Wilmington decided to write a little letter back. It was like the fake news today. They post something, then you post something. So after he posted his letter basically said, well, when them white women come sniffing around here, they don't want to leave, okay?
All right.
And we got to beat them off with a stick, so what are you saying? So after that, they had to create the White Declaration of Independence. Because after that, it became a controversy. Now it's an open, thing. It's an open, I guess, like consensus that these women are actually seeking after these dark chocolate, blackity black men. And it's not just, something that came out of a vacuum. So I pulled up the White Declaration of Independence. It just says, we the undersigned citizens of Wilmington, the county of New Hanover, do hereby declare that we will no longer be ruled, and will never again be ruled by men of African origin. Who's that? Oh, okay. The conditions that we have in part endured because we felt that the consequences of the War of Secession were such to deprive us of the fair consideration of many of our countrymen. We believe that after more than 30 years, this is no longer the case. The stand we now pledge ourselves to be forced upon is suddenly by a crisis, and our eyes are open to the fact that we must act now or leave our descendants to a fate too gloomy to be borne. While we recognize the authority of the United States and will yield to if exerted, we will not for a moment believe that this purpose for more than 60 million of our own race to subject us permanently to a fate to which no Anglo-Saxon has ever been forced to submit. But we have to remember those Anglo-Saxons look like me and you that are speaking.
Exactly.
This
That's
is crazy.
exactly what's happening.
This is crazy. Why would we need a white Declaration of Independence if they were already ruling us? It makes no sense. Just like it makes no sense that Abraham Lincoln called Egypt Illinois, but we're not going to go there. Okay.
Not yet.
That's too far.
Not yet.
So with the White Declaration of Independence, when you read it, it basically says the white people were down bad. They were down bad, and they had to dismember and dismantle everything about Wilmington,
Let's call them pale Europeans.
Pale Europeans. Why do you call them pale Europeans?
Because remember, this was their attempt to take on the status as white. So they wasn't white. Their classification has never been white before up until this period of time.
And white means what? Pale, right? Or black,
No,
right?
black means
Black
pale.
means pale.
Right. Black it derives out of a Germanic word which is called blague.
Okay.
And then blague definition is pale.
Okay.
So when in Germanic times, they would refer to people as blague,
Okay.
and because of the similarity of the word black and blague became black, and that was a form of delineating,
Delineation, right?
from your identity
Right.
and your of origin, which is a tactic of war, which nations do amongst each other.
Okay. So when you were younger, No, you don't have to tell your age. But when you were younger, did you learn what the term black meant when you were in school? What did they teach you that black was?
They said black was your identity and you're a slave from Africa.
Okay. So when Africans come here to America, what are they? African Americans? Oh, okay. Okay. No, no, no. If Koreans come here and they're from Korea, they're called Koreans, right?
A Korean American.
If you're, let's say, from Uzbekistan, you're Uzbekistanian. If you're from Yemen,
Exactly.
you're Yemenese.
Yemenese
If you are
American.
American-born, so-called black, you just black?
You're just black.
You just a color?
And slaves.
Just a crayon color.
You from any enslaved dark race.
But we're the only crayon people. But even North African people who come here as immigrants, on their IDs, it says white.
Right.
They don't even check the part that says black or other.
Exactly.
Why do they not do that?
Well, we have to remember the education system here was designed specifically for social engineering and to confuse the education to keep control of the population.
Right.
So, and then when you take the moment in time to think about who are the individuals responsible for creating the education system and the curriculum and the organizations that they affiliated with, then you will be able to see the motives of why the education was flipped upside down on its head the way it is.
Do you have photos of the original copper-colored Indians and what they look like? Because the 1828, I was looking at the 1828 definition of American, and it said the copper-colored Indian people, short woolly hair. It basically described the young man who's sitting in the back right there. You guys can't see him, but it basically described chocolate people to the T. When you look at the documents from the 1500s, the 1600s, the 1700s, when they show Indians, they do not show Pocahontas from the Disney movie. I am sorry to disappoint everyone. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to disappoint everyone. But
Yeah.
Pocahontas is not it. It's me. It's
Right.
my grandmother. From the shortest,
is.
nappiest, widest nose, most chocolate person to the most fair-skinned, what we call coolie hair or good hair, all of that. We
All of
still
it.
make all of those phenotypes.
Exactly.
But I guess the mental colonization
Right.
of the word black for us and the word white, those people are not the white people.
Right.
We are technically white, but if you say that to somebody, it's like, oh my God, you sound crazy, girl. Like, what you talking about? You white? No, these are real things.
Well, see, I think what the problem is because they don't realize that the term white is just a classification system.
It's a status.
Yes, it's a status of a classification inside of the United States system. It's a classification system. That's just like, if the United States is like the NFL, and all of us are the players playing for the NFL, but nobody wants to go and play for the G League NFL team or a football
Right,
team.
everybody wants to play for
Everybody
the
want
best.
to be in the NFL. So that's why people don't understand that the differences between the two.
Yeah, because even though like, you can ask a child, people who come from Korea, Korean, people who come from China, Chinese, the people in America, Americans, the black people in America, just black.
I can't find
Like,
it.
you notice when you talk to those other American people, they say, oh, I'm Irish, or I'm European, or something like that. We're the only people that identify with a crayon color, and we don't understand how disrespectful that is, especially when we have what did the Egyptians call themselves? Tamur?
Tameri.
Tameri?
The land was called Tameri, and they was also known as the Moors, Maures, and in Egypt, it's written as MR on the walls, which is a symbol of the owl and like a obtuse circle.
Okay. So basically what you're saying is everybody look like us.
Yeah, right.
What messed me up was a couple of weeks ago when I saw the Abraham Lincoln story.
Okay.
And I started looking at his vice president, his original vice president, who was Hannibal Hamlin. Now,
Okay.
we know Hannibal was the warrior of Carthage. He was one of the biggest, baddest generals ever. Everybody knows Hannibal.
Okay.
We know Carthage is in Africa. We know that. We know the Carthaginians were the dark, fucking crazy,
Phoenicians.
fucking gladiator warriors, you know, sunning everybody. So if Hannibal Hamlin was a black man who was the vice president in the run-in to become the vice president, why we never learned that in school? We learned about Andrew Johnson, who came after the term black Republicans. I said that lady from The View, what's her name? Sunny or whatever. She was talking about black Republicans, and then she blocked
Right.
me because I had to give her a dissertation. Like, ma'am, you are too old
Right,
to be
right, right,
perpetuating this lie about black Republicans when the first black Republican was the man on the copper penny. His
Right.
name is Abraham Africanus Lincoln.
No, that's real. See, you know, it's just a lot of this information is so new for people because they've been conditioned to follow a curriculum that was set up by a non-for-profit organization. So, and because you have to remember, a lot of these organizations, they get grants and they receive monies.
Yeah, Pan-Africanism is like, I call them Pan-African peddlers now. Because,
Right.
like, it only took me a hot second. Number one, that white Declaration of Independence,
Right.
that document alone kills everything. That document alone kills everything. Y'all talking about we were slaves. Y'all talking about all this shit. All right, why would they need a white Declaration of Independence? Why would this be necessary for them to have if it wasn't a necessity, if they weren't under the foots and the thumbs of us? Even the Negro rulers of Scotland. The first king of Scotland was who? Kenneth the Niger, Kenneth the Nigger. Add another G on there, that's Niger, Nigg. Kenneth the Nigger. It's
Right.
him.
See, the problem is, like I said, our people here in America has been conditioned to only operate in a, how should I say, a domestic, law-abiding and law-following and dealing with domestic issues. They're not
Like my mother says,
conditioned.
just worry about regular life and doing things the right way. I hate when she say
Oh,
that, but it's
man.
just like that's really it. The
Yeah, because
cognitive dissonance,
yeah,
the
because
ignorance of information.
because the idea of an American here is just to shop and to perform commerce. That's the way that most people feel like is the order of the day, and that's how our people are conditioned.
But I like looking fly, like I like shopping
No,
sometimes,
but
you know. But I also want to know the truth. I also don't want to be
Right.
walking
Learn
around
how you
calling
being
myself
governed.
a crayon color
Right,
when I have a real title and a real name.
exactly.
I don't want to walk around talking about the Chinese people and the fucking Mexican, American Chinese people mixed with the Siberians or the Indians. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
even the term Indian we know is a misnomer as well.
Exactly.
But just for regular people who don't get it, like, it's us. When Christopher Columbus came here, he saw us. He had to come to the shore to greet the king, who was a big, black, dark, wide-nosed
More,
Moor. Okay?
more.
They
Mer-
said that when they came here and they saw how much riches we already had apartment buildings, we already had aqueducts, we already had floating gardens. Robert Beverly, I forgot where he said that at, but Robert Beverly talked about how extremely clean it was, how we
yeah.
had boulevards and all of these things here. We go back into, we're not going to go there today, but the World's Fair and
Right.
how, you know, if y'all came here in 1492, and y'all was in this little piece over here
on the East Coast.
on the East Coast. Y'all didn't even reach the Midwest until 1803, after the Louisiana Purchase. Y'all was here for 311 years, excuse me,
Right.
and didn't discover anything.
And that's the thing, see, because when you don't notice the timeline of history, it allows an individual to kind of like keep you running in circles. Because if you're not familiar with the periods of time and the dates and when these events actually occurred, you could skip all over through history to make your own favorable outlook, but when it comes to actual truth, the numbers don't lie.
Right. You have to follow that lineage of time. You have to go chronologically in order to get. Even Abraham Lincoln talking about Egypt is Illinois is Egypt, the Egypt of America.
That's right.
Even the Middle Eastern people knowing that this is the Morocco of the West. Even
Yeah.
that Moroccan chick that she was like, she said that her grandmother told them that they came from America and went there.
Yeah, exactly. And those are the stories that are that are not necessarily spoken of, because in the world, in the greater set of the world outside of the United States curriculum system, the education indoctrination system, the rest of the world know this stuff.
Right. They do.
They know this stuff
They do.
because you
When you
could.
go all through England, you see us
Yeah.
all over the walls, all in the museums. Like, if we were just slaves, why were you guys painting slaves?
And making statues.
Why were you guys
Of
making statues of
Indians.
slaves?
Right, and then having tapestry of Moorish kings and castles fighting
Fighting
the wild men.
the wild men versus the Moors.
Yeah, it's just
That's what made me realize that they was really the Wozy, but we're not gonna go there, because that's a whole nother conversation. Wait, I wanted to say something. Oh, the doctrine of discovery. Do you have that?
doctrine is. I don't have that on the computer. I need some. I probably need some Wi-Fi or something to catch up.
Okay. Well, we'll do that next time. But the doctrine of discovery, that document that shows the access that the Catholic Church gave anybody. Anytime you went somewhere and they weren't Christian and you didn't know that land, you were able to just take it over.
Exactly.
That's it. It didn't matter if there were people there. It didn't matter that there were people here.
If they wasn't Christians, you was entitled to enslave them, murder them, and take over their land in the name of Christ.
So
Jesus.
right now we're living under occupation. So I know that they want everybody to think that they came from Africa. You have to stop this, guys. We did not come from Africa. Like,
Right.
think about it. If there's a whole pizza pie, right?
Uh-oh.
And the pizza pie is one whole pie, right? And then somehow we cut the pie in half.
It's
But
still a
this-
pizza.
It's still a pizza. It's still a pizza pie, but it's just this side is over here and that side is over there.
Exactly.
So to say that we talk about that story of Pangea, all of the, I guess, like Afrocentric or diaspora kind of people talk about Pangea. At one time, the world was connected and everything was one. But it
Exactly.
wasn't called Asia. I mean, it wasn't called Africa. It was called Asia.
It was all called Asia.
It was all called Asia.
It's all
So
of it.
to even say that civilization started in Africa is a lie. Civilization started in Asia, and Asia's here.
Right. This
We
is
never
also a
left
part
here.
of Asia.
We never left here.
Now,
If North America, follow me, and everything else was connected, that's like me and you being in a car right now, and some type of fucking miraculous event happens, and the car gets cut in half. Nigga, I'm still in the side of the car that I'm in.
you still in the car.
That doesn't mean that I left where I was at.
Right.
So when you hear them talk about, oh, everything was connected, and we was over here,
Right.
and they was over there.
Exactly. And because our people, we're the oldest people in the world.
How you know we the oldest people?
Well, anthropologists did some research along the Mississippi River.
Oh, on the Mississippi.
On the Mississippi.
On the Mississippi.
On Mississippi.
All right, now go ahead.
So, anthropologists has recognized that the oldest people, pre-Columbian and right after the Ice Age, were the actual Moors.
The Olmecs.
Well, I would say, far as the relation to that tribe, yes, because in North America around the Mississippi, those tribes were actually descendants of the Olmecs. So technically speaking, yes, those
The
people were definitely
Washita Murs.
Washita Moors. And then you also have artifacts found in Georgia mountains that show that there's a Mayan connection also in Georgia, the mounds in Georgia, in Moundville. And
What
there's
about the temples of Isis
in the
and
Grand Canyon.
that they found in the Grand Canyon?
Absolutely.
How long ago? That was like in the 1930s when they found that, right?
Yeah, that happened. Smithsonian went
So
out
you're
there.
telling me that they found Egyptian things in this America?
Oh, even in Chicago, they found Egyptian relics and artifacts.
Oh, how they get there? Well, how they get over there? Just start acting like a slave. Well, how they get over yonder?
Well, like I said, people got to realize that modern day societies condition you to make you believe the Earth is only 6,000 years old. So anything
We're
after
more
6,
they're only 6,000 years old.
right? According to them.
The grafted human being is only
That's
6,000 years old.
No, that's real. But like I said, people have a problem with going, looking at research that's older than 6,000 years old, and they have a difficult time or
I
try to
think
have
the
a
problem came with slavery. It's like once they got the history of slavery, they stopped right there.
Right.
Like they stopped.
Yeah.
And that's what we were talking about earlier, like the baseline of information. Like you can't go into information with a baseline of information. Like, oh, I'm gonna check this out, but this is emphatically true, and nothing else can.
Right.
Like, no.
Right,
Everything that you learned in school was a lie.
Right.
Everything you learned, like, this is not a. First of all, we don't even live in a democracy. We live in a fucking republic. You
Right.
idiots.
Exactly.
Stop saying this is a democracy because it's not. This is a republic.
Yeah, exactly. It's just
And to the republic for which it stands. Y'all don't remember that in school?
nah.
One nation, like, this is a republic. So
Right.
the way that we operate, like, within law is the same way we operate within history. It's a cognitive dissonance.
It is. And the sad thing is, most people, they don't really necessarily take the time to actually learn this information because they don't see it as being any of value to them. But they don't understand that knowing this information, it erases the inferior stigma in
That
your
word.
mindset.
That inferior word. So think about it. Anytime there's somebody that does something that looks like us, they go, oh, he's the first black. Oh, he the first black.
Right.
But that's not true because we were always the first.
Exactly.
Even Barry Sotero, that's married to Michael LaVaughn Robinson, allegedly.
Here we go.
Even Barry Sotero, y'all favorite motherfucking shucking and jiving motherfucking president. He knew. Barry
yeah.
Sotero knew he was not the first so-called black president. He knew that.
Right.
Barry Sotero knew that he married a man named Michael LaVaughn Robinson, who is now somebody we call Michelle LaVaughn Obama. Coincidence? I think not. You got to really look at that man. And I'm going off on a tangent because I felt really passionate about this. But you got to really look at that man. Go back into YouTube and look at 2000, early 2000s when they first came out, and look at that man and look at that man. And then go look at the kids and then go look at the real parents who are the Blanchards.
Uh-oh.
The father looks just like the older daughter with the same long forehead, and the young daughter with the fat cheeks looks just like the mother. So there are a lot of, like, we don't even know what we be looking at.
We don't.
We're so blinded by imagery that we don't even know what the fuck we be looking at.
No, that's real.
We don't even know that we're looking at historic people that were Moors, that were Freemasons, that were people of color, that were our, ancestors, and we calling them white. And we looking at ourselves.
We definitely are.
No, we looking at ourselves.
But see, the thing is, like I said, that inferiority complex is what's keeping our people stagnated. Because the excuse is, and when you're not successful, is because
White people did it.
exactly.
White people did it.
Now, that's not to say that
They didn't do some shit.
this society or these institutions, which are controlled by Europeans now, haven't put forth policies that discriminated against the indigenous population, known as Moors, blacks, Negroes, and African Americans. But in the same token, you could see periods of time when other pale Europeans who arrived here in America, where they wasn't
They was down
accepted.
bad too, yeah. No Mexicans, no niggas, no Italians, or
Right.
whatever.
But they stuck together because they had a sense of nationality and they took care of one another until they was able to actually accumulate enough wealth and power so where they was able to.
They still do it to this day. Chinese people, when they come here, they operate in group economics.
Exactly.
African people operate in group economics. Spanish people operate in group economics. The indigenous, Autochthonous, Aboriginal, Native American, Moorish, black man, he's all out for himself. We them same niggas. It's like when I go through history and I look at the things that we did then and the things that we do now, it's literally we're them same niggas. Like we do the same shit over and over. And it's not necessarily a good or a bad thing. It's
Take
just
a look
a
at
thing.
the image I have up there. You know what that image is?
Is that the war in California?
No, that's in Mexico. This is De Soto when he attacked the Aztecs. And you can see the Aztecs here in the far left.
Yeah, that look like me when I take this ponytail off. Right
Exactly.
there. With the hair sticking up, just like that.
And then you see the flags, right? You see
Yeah.
all the flags, you see all the red flags.
Yeah.
So
And that's what the Empress of the Washita,
Empress Verdine.
Empress Verdici or
Verdici, yeah,
she
Verdici Bay.
she said that when George Washington allegedly chopped down the cherry tree, that it wasn't the cherry tree. She said when you put the Moorish fez on top of the Moorish flag, it looked like a cherry tree. And that was what he meant when he was saying he was going to chop down the cherry tree. And another, was that him who said if we can make them take off their fezzes and forget that they are Moors, then we'll rule?
Right, that happened at in Philadelphia during the Whittemore meeting.
Right. So the fallacy of supremacy comes with the lack of knowledge. Like they knew, even Benjamin Franklin and the observations concerning the increase of mankind. He wrote that in 1756.
Right.
And the observations concerning the increase of mankind, he said that the whole world was black and tawny. The whole world was swarthy. Swarthy means wood-stained skin.
Exactly. And
Hello.
That's some wood right there. Pause.
Hello, knock on wood. This is wood-stained skin now.
Right.
These are words that even the word brunette. We think brunette means the lady from I Love Lucy. Brunette means brown-skinned black woman. A brunette just means brown skin. So until we are able to understand words, then we're definitely going to feel inferior to a person that's not, supreme. I don't think there's anything supreme about those other people. But I think that they do really good business. They do really good business.
Well,
I can't front.
Well, we taught them,
We
so
we
they
taught
learned
them
well.
our business, and they learned it very well, to the extent that they took generations of our people and basically made them forget who they are and told them a made-up story about slavery. I promise you.
But see, here's the thing, though. A lot of people believe that there are not people out there. They don't believe that all Europeans are conspiring to destroy our race.
I don't want to say destroy. I want to say suppress.
Exactly.
Because they need us.
Right.
They need melanin.
But see, the thing is, people that I have to realize is that it's not the entire pale European nations.
That's only 24%. 24% of white people, so-called white people, are born with tails. You can Google it right now.
Here we go.
24% are born with tails. Those 24% are a part of the lineage of the Neanderthals. Those 24% are the ones who are out to kill us and take our melanin and use it for computer chips and all types of shit they be doing. Did y'all know that melanin is in computer chips? Anyway,
Right, that's a
that's
whole nother-
crazy. When I heard that shit the other day, that was crazy.
Yeah.
But the other percentage of so-called white people, dun, 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 those are our sons.
Right.
That's your son, that's your son, that's your son. Especially the ones who love them some black girls. Those are the ones. They're trying to get back to their roots.
Right, their DNA is calling them back.
Most of these so-called white people of today, their great-great-great-great-grandparent
Or Moors.
were Moors that look like me, him, and a lot of other people, darker people.
They was probably Moors or they was probably swarthy Arabs, because we have to remember during the Revolutionary War, the Algerians, they sent over the Zolofts to come over and fight with the Americans to expel the British, because the British wasn't popular then. So when, that's why France and Algiers and Morocco, a lot of people, they sent over soldiers. And there were Zoloft soldiers who wore fezzes and turbans.
Ain't Zoloft that pill that they take to go to sleep?
Yeah, right.
You see how they just try to put stuff with different names to mess
Right.
up your head? So now when we Google Zoloft, it's going to show us the medicine with the
Right.
people with depression instead
Right.
of showing us the Algerians that came over here to fight in the war.
Right.
Like, even,
And here's the thing: those people that came over here to fight, they all didn't leave.
but
they-
that's what I'm saying. The whole concept of what we know as history is we are slaves,
Right.
and after slavery, we basically just like can't get right, which is not true.
It's not.
When you learn about the history of Abraham Lincoln and you see his father Thomas Lincoln and you see everything that was going on in the Americas before they said, like, I could show, like when I show people the pictures of what real Native Americans look like, they think that I'm making it up.
Right.
And I have to show them that it's from the 1500s. I have to show them that it's from the 1600s.
Oh, yeah.
So the White Declaration of Independence,
Right.
the fallacy of slavery,
The
the
doctrine of
word
discovery.
black, the word black,
You did bring up the doctrine of
the
discovery
doctrine of
when we
discovery,
first started.
which gave them the right to just, commandeer all lands,
It
no
gave
matter
them-
who was there. If there were people there, even better. If they had businesses there, even better.
Right.
The history of the ancient and the modern Britons, the first kings of Scotland, Kenneth the Niger, Kenneth the Nigger,
The Aztecs and
the
Mexico
Aztecs,
and
the
DeSoto.
Mayans, the Washita Moors, the Olmecs, that's all us, okay? The Hebrews.
Right.
America is Egypt. Ooh, can't even get into that. But yeah.
South
So,
America is Jerusalem.
Right. Everything that we learned in history, we have to unlearn and relearn. And
We have to reverse it. The story has to be reversed. What you was told that happened in the East, it happened
in
here
the
in
West.
the West. And because even so-called Indians will tell you that their stories and their history is oral tradition. So our oral traditions was placed in stone in modern day Egypt, so it will never
And
be
it's
forgotten.
in all of these books, and the Smithsonian knows, everybody knows, Harvard knows, and this is the more you know, where if you know better, you could do better. And if
That's
you
a
could do
fact.
better, you could get your weather together.